Hey.
Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Beardy Boys. Here we are, and as you can see, we are down to a twosome again, but this time it is Sir Chadwick that is missing, and Poppy Rick is joining us today, still being as beardy and as awesome as ever, as you can clearly see, and truth be told, this whole thing that's been happening, everyone's had to take their breaks, everyone's had to do this, everyone's had to do that. And hey, here's what we always say. Life happens. Life happens. You can't predict it. You can't really get a grip on it. You just got to roll with it because no matter what you do, it's always gonna throw you curveballs. And if you're not ready, it can take a lot out of you.
If you can't take balls, I'm sorry.
Nah, shafts only. So, here this week we are going to be doing two rapid fire topics each. I figured I would start with one that is still a bit fresh, but let's see. There's two video games that came out here recently.
Okay.
Jedi Survivor, or Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
I've been seeing clips of that.
And RedFall.
I heard, but haven't seen any gameplay or what's it about.
Okay, so I'll be the first to tell you. RedFall, okay, the two games are being compared to a certain extent because of quote-unquote botched releases. So and that's becoming a lot more common nowadays because gaming companies just have no patience and don't have the know-how. It's just like, oh, we're just going to release this half-baked. It doesn't matter. And it's like, we don't care about optimization or anything like that because these gaming company execs don't know gaming. I mean, and then you get devs telling you we need at least another month for optimization so that people don't rip us apart. And they're like, that won't matter. Just patch it in later. People will still play it. It's like, but you don't understand the irreparable damage that does, not just for the initial release, but the reputation of the company at hand. So when Star Wars Jedi Survivor came out, the reviews, for the most part, especially on consoles, was very consistent across the board. It said, "Oh, this game's even better than the original. The story, the worlds, the adventure, everything is just so much more and so much bigger and so much better." And then, of course, then people started playing the PC port, and even the most beastly of PCs, I'm talking like a 4090 cranked to the gills, like a 5950X or what's the newest one that just came out? The 7900 3D, which is like one of the like higher end processors.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't do jack with the game. Not at 4K, not at 1440. The only time it was playable was when you cranked it down to 1080p, and then you could more consistently get closer to 60 FPS. And I know the game's huge. The game's massive. But if you're going to release the game in this state on PC, I mean, you're going to completely just, like, you're fumbling your PC audience's trust right there. Because I played the original on PC, Fallen Order. I played it on PC, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. I had very few bugs my first playthrough. Just a few buggy, landing animations whenever you were like hopping across cliffs and stuff like that. But overall, the gameplay experience was amazing. And then on Jedi Survivor, I was about to play it, but then I saw people who had very comparable machines like mine, in terms of like the same build and everything, and they were having issues. They were having big issues. I was like, oh no, I guess I'm delaying this until they patch up the game and make it and give it make it better optimized.
Mhm.
And so far, here's the thing I'll say: Stig Asmussen and his team at Respawn have basically come out and apologized and said we are doing everything we can. We're working around the clock to get this optimization updates out so that you all can enjoy the game. And then, of course, at EA, there's some people at EA who are just following the same old thing, calling gamers entitled and this and that. And while I know that there are some people out there who are blowing it way out of proportion, saying that, oh, this launch it's just like Cyberpunk, like 2077. No, it is not. No, it is not. No, because the truth is, Cyberpunk 2077 is actually the polar opposite. The game on consoles is is more playable than it is on PC. Whereas when Cyberpunk came out, it was only playable on PC, and the consoles
Mhm.
were fucking god awful, especially previous
Yep.
generation consoles.
Oh,
PS4,
oof.
yeah, that was ugly, dude. It was so bad that Sony removed it from the store. They
And
removed it from
refund
the
everybody.
PlayStation
Yeah,
Store.
and refund
Yeah,
everybody.
yes, that's how bad it was. This Jedi Survivor, that is nothing compared to Cyberpunk. Anyone
Well,
out there
the
comparing it
2
to?
main the 2 main differences is that the investors push people, of the devs of the, Cyberpunk game,
Yeah,
to get released. So
yeah.
it wasn't the game developers that were like, "Eh, fuck it, pass it," people, "We'll just pass up to later on." It was the investors like, "Release it, release it, release it, release it." Like, "It's not ready yet. Release it, release it, release it. It's not ready yet. Release it." "Alright, fine." Released it, and
And then what happened? And then all of a sudden, the investors are just like, "Why did you release it? Why didn't you tell us it wasn't ready?" We told you it wasn't ready. We told you. And basically the whole deal with Jedi Survivor is that the game is salvageable. The game is, according to everyone out there who's played it, the gameplay is amazing. The story is amazing. There's just so much that's good about it, and I'm just gonna wait for optimizations. And plus, Stig Asmussen is a game developer that I trust. I mean, yeah, he developed the God of War games for God's sakes. I mean, so or the original God of War games, the original three, and he's one of my favorite game developers ever. And I can't wait to see, him and his team, just knock this out. And within a couple months, everyone's forgotten about it and everyone's moved on. Because that's the thing, taking responsibility for your mess ups, taking responsibility for your hiccups, and just being like, yeah, we messed up. Sorry about that. Here's a patch, and plus, also, here's free DLC to make up for it. There, boom. You immediately get your customers' trust back, and people move on. The same cannot be said for Redfall.
mm.
Oh my god!
I
Holy
think I seen a clip on
shit!
TikTok. Doesn't it deal with like monsters, like vampires and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 'cause I seen a clip where it was just like
Uh,
they were they were walking, but it's just like floating animation. And
mm-hmm.
then as they're trying to get behind them, it's like 2D type of thing where it's like they're like this, and they're just following you without moving their body. And then the person shot at I guess a vampire,
Uh.
and then the hitbox was like non-existent, and the bullets were going through the person.
Mm-hmm.
And then he walked through the vampire. So that's Redfall?
Yep. That's Redfall.
God. And that was it, a $70 for you to buy right now?
Full AAA pricing. And you see, this game, I will make the more apt comparison. This is like Fallout 76 when it launched. Now, Fallout 76, after what, 3 years, 4 years, has finally become a game that is at least serviceable online. Whereas this, I don't know. And where they're both based from Bethesda or ZeniMax, the company that owns Bethesda, because it was Arcane that developed this. And
Mm.
Arcane, they have done games in the past. They did Dishonored 2, and then they did what was it? It was oh yeah, Deathloop. And
Ah.
you see, those three games right there have a certain motif and have a certain flow to them that actually works. Redfall, on the other hand, it seems as though this is just super undercooked. I mean, this isn't. This is, and this is the beautiful thing about this. This game releasing basically took all of, like, almost all of the heat off of Jedi Survivor. Now, no one's talking about Jedi Survivor's bugs anymore. Everyone's talking about Redfall because Redfall is noticeably a much, much, much worse game. And it's like people were just like, "Oh gosh, this game's so laggy. I can't get anything more than 30 frames per second." And then all of a sudden you go over to Redfall, it's like this game is just broken. This game is god awful. At least Jedi Survivors is serviceable. A few optimization updates and it's a great game. But this, oh, it's impossible. It's impossible to make that into a great game at this point because I hate to say it, the the characters that you had in Dishonored and Deathloop were at least good characters. The characters in this are reminiscent of Blazkowicz's twin daughters in Wolfenstein New Blood. They are just bland. They have no personality outside of catchphrases, and they offer nothing of substance except they are inserted into world to kill. That's all. That's all. They don't have any character depth whatsoever to speak of, and I, I hate the fact that this is this is what we're to expect nowadays. We aren't here to expect games to actually live up to the expectations that they deliver or that they promise, but instead we just see the delivery and it's basically just like a muddled up pig fetus instead of a newborn baby for us to raise up and enjoy and go through and have great experiences with. Instead it's just a muddled up like just pig fetus just sitting here in our hands just like
Yeah, I
what is
mean, like
this?
it goes back to even like before the whole internet based games. Like every game nowadays is internet based, obviously for updates and all the fun
Yeah,
purposes.
yeah.
But yes, you had games in like in the PS2, Wii, GameCube, that era of gaming, even like back in the 80s and 90s with Nintendo stuff and Atari and so on. Yes, those games had glitches, but
Mm-hmm.
the companies never submitted a game that was never like unplayable. Yes, you could brick a game. Yes, you could find a way to brick a game, but it was extremely hard to brick a game that was like 20 fucking megabytes big.
Yeah.
Now you have companies working quote unquote years, and yes, obviously the graphics looks a little bit more, it's way more better. And yes, you have to put a little bit more enough physics into it, but it's like they're not even capable to even release a game that's supposed to be obviously day and night compared to those 20 megapixels, PS2 or PS1 games or Nintendo era games. Bless you.
Thank you.
And it's like, how bless
Oh,
you.
sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit, and there's so much of it out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Oh,
how it's like you guys are experienced at this point. You have so many decades of creating games, and you cannot have a game released without no issues or game breaking issues. If you could do it for basically consoles or any other type of gaming stuff that I can release with minor bugs that you have to look deep into to break it.
yeah.
But now games are getting released broken, and it's like, oh, it's fine, it's fine. Got Call of Duty when Modern Warfare 2 that was broken for a little while. You
Yeah.
have even the Warzone was broken for a little bit. You have even like the previous the Modern Warfare on 2019, Warzone 2019.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these different games, Cyberpunk, they're always broken when they first release. And you're a multi-billion dollar company and you can't have a team to play through it. They aren't just supposed to have game testers in these type of environments and before it goes into stores. Hey, let me have my team play for 50 hours.
Yeah.
Let me have like 10 or 20 people play for 50 hours and see if they can discover anything that's broken.
So, quality assurance, QA testing, quality and assurance. A lot of that has gone out the window because a lot of these gaming companies now are in fear of competition. Because here's what happened.
Okay.
So for the longest time, some of the best QA, game testers out there were companies like what's the one that did Borderlands? Yeah, okay, Borderlands. It was Gearbox. So Gearbox started out as a testing pool, and they gained a reputation throughout the late '90s and early 2000s as a great game tester. As a great game testers. You could send your game to them. They would iron out a lot of the bugs. They'd send you back notes on like potential bug fixes and stuff like that. And they were really, really good. But then all of a sudden, Gearbox got the idea, hey, let's make our own games. And because of the money that they got from all these video game companies for their QA testing and everything, they were able to start up their own business. And it made competition in the marketplace. But these game developers, I remember, I forget who it was who said it. There was a very big game developer for, I think it was not EA, but gosh, it was a bigger company, and they gave the excuse as to why, like there was a game that they released that was just god awful in terms of optimization, buggy as hell and everything, and it's just like, oh well, we're afraid to send it out to like out of house game testers. Because we're afraid that eventually they're going to become competition, and we don't want that. It's like, do you not realize that competition is what drives the marketplace and drives quality up? Do you not realize that that's how this works?
Yeah.
Because I hate to say it, but every company, when they reach a certain precipice without competition, they rest on their laurels and they just think they can get away with releasing bullshit.
I
I'm
mean, yeah.
sorry, but that's what we're experiencing with Disney. Disney has been dominating for so long over the last decade, and now they're resting on their
Decade.
laurels.
What do you mean, decades?
Yeah, well, in terms of just like a live action box office,
Oh yeah, true. That
because
yeah.
originally, every 3 or 4 years you could count on a Pixar movie blowing up the box office and all that, and occasionally a Disney like, because you remember back in like the '90s and 2000s, Disney was super reliant on live action TV movies and stuff like that. They didn't really have a live action movie department that wasn't Touchstone Pictures, which, doesn't release under Disney's banner. But when Pirates of the Caribbean came out, they were like, oh, we can make big money here. So they started a live action department. And then Walt Disney Animation Studios got back on track whenever John Lasseter took over as chief there after after Pixar got acquired by Disney. And thus they had 3 to 4 different departments that were cranking out stuff. And then when they bought Marvel, that was it. Then they just took off. And now, over the last decade of dominating the box office, literally having the top 3 or 4 grossing films every year for the last 10 years. And now everyone's everyone's sick of them. Everyone's sick of them because they're not giving us the quality that we're used to from that. Instead,
She-Hulk.
yeah, yeah, She-Hulk and Phase 4. Sorry, yeah, all of Phase 4. I'm not even gonna mask it, dude. Majority of Phase 4 has just been a drizzling shit, and very little of it have I enjoyed. Very little of it have I found myself being like, huh, this is pretty good. Instead, I've just been like,
Only good Phase 4 was Spider-Man.
yes. And that was right at the beginning. That was right at the fucking start. I mean, they came out guns blazing with that. And now where are we?
She-Hulk.
Uh,
I just hope they don't
God.
fuck a Fantastic Four, because this and
They
or
will. They will. They'll find a way. Much like Captain Kirk, they will find a way.
Because the Marvel transition has been, dark, very just intense action. So now they're getting to the comedic. And
Yeah.
you have the most amazing role in that Thor movie. The God Butcher,
Yeah,
Christian
Gore.
Bale.
Yeah, Gore the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, one of the best modern actors. It was great. That could
His
have been long
performance,
standing.
his performance was Chef Kiss, Gordon Ramsay kiss, Michelin star kiss.
Mm-hmm.
And they got fucked up because of Thor's comedic timing for everything and Zeus being some chubby fat dude. Uh they could have made that movie a complete badass movie if they're not so dependent on making Thor a comedic character. Because the first Thor movie, he wasn't that comedic. The
No.
second Thor movie, it was a little bit more darker and it had a little bit more comedy part of it, but it was still had the dark theme. And 4 came out, and then it was I'm in the fourth, 3, and it's just like
Then they just started to depend on what too much of what worked. You see, adding the comedic aspect balanced out the dark stuff. But when you're over reliant on the comedy and you don't live up to the end of it on the dark side of it, I mean, there's times where Thor has to be serious. And when you're going up against literally the God Butcher, Gore, the God Butcher, one of the most infamous characters in all of Marvel, who literally does not care who he kills as long as the end result results in the death of a god. Especially like Asgardians, Athenians, and everything. And the over reliance on comedy and everything. Don't get me wrong, Taika Waititi is a very, very funny guy. I've watched What We Do in the Shadows, and it's awesome. But just an over reliance on comedy and not enough on the dramatic aspects of it. That is what is missing, and I think that's also because there's no stakes. There's no like raised stakes. It's just like, oh, we know Thor's just going to throw a one liner out there, do some awkward comedy stuff, and then eventually he's going to win. What if something happened and Gore won? Like Gore actually accomplished what he was supposed to, and you went really dark with it, and he got to Earth, and he like got to Earth and killed a bunch of the Asgardians. Like it just wiped them out, or dude, something that equates to like living up to the bargain of what Gore was in the comics. But instead, you waste Christian Bale, you lose him after one film, and now what? Now what do we got? What do we have?
yeah.
Uh, yep. So anyway, I resting on laurels and just feeling like you can get away with releasing whatever because we're a big enough company where we can people won't care. People are stupid. They'll buy everything that we put out. I think these companies are finding out very quickly that no, they won't. Because honestly, I think people are sick and tired of getting pandered to. They're sick and tired of getting, all this shit thrown at them that doesn't have any substance to it. It's just quality speaks,
Yep.
everybody. That's what I'll just say. Quality speaks. And I know quality may take time and it may require a little bit of your too much of your attention in some regards, but if it's something that makes an impact on you and truly like makes you feel something, then it's worth it versus
Yeah.
what we have now, which is just the same vapid bullshit that has nothing to it other than just like ha ha catchy one liner, roll credits. That's all we
Yeah.
got anymore. That's all we ever get. Anyway,
Mhm.
so yeah, That's my first topic. So, Rick, how about you, man? What's
This is a question I pose a lot on
Mm-hmm.
my community posts and sometimes Twitter here and there, and I wanna
Mm-hmm.
get your intake on it. If you could go back in time and wipe your memory of one specific game series or one specific movie series, what game series would you wipe from your memory so you can re-experience it? And what movie series would you wipe from your memory and re-experience it?
That's a good one. That is a good one. Video games. Damn.
There's a lot of good games out there. You have the whole Kingdom Hearts series. You have the whole Metal
Yeah.
Gear series. You have the
Mass
whole Halo
Effect,
series,
Legend of
Mass Effect,
Zelda. Yeah.
Pokemon. For those who like out there who like Pokemon, there's a lot of game series that have sequels, and some of them were just amazing after amazing after amazing after amazing. If you could just go back and just wipe that from your brain to re-experience it.
Video games, I would probably say Legend of Zelda, probably
Okay.
because damn, either Legend of Zelda or mm, that's the only one I can think of right now. But I know there's another one that I'm gonna kick myself for forgetting about right now. In terms of movies, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I'd have said Star Wars, no doubt. Now I
Yeah. Now.
no. Oh, my headphones are dying. Hold on. Let me plugged up. There we go. Uh, in terms of let's see. Damn, damn. I would say,
Checkmate.
huh?
It's a checkmate.
I would say probably. I wish I could change what was in the series because there's some stuff it's just like, but I'd probably say the Marvel series all over again, from Iron Man to Avengers Endgame, and then if you could just make it to where the rest of that shit never existed, period. Like almost everything after, save for No Way Home, keep No Way Home. Everything else can die in a fire and get reforged. Uh, but yeah, this I would say the Marvel movies, and I would also say Legend of Zelda, and there's a couple that I'm forgetting. I know I'm gonna kick again. I'm gonna kick myself for not mentioning it. How about you? Did you have any?
I mean, you took one of my answers, which is the Marvel, and I
Ah,
had the same identical feeling. Like, just end it at No Way Home.
yes.
Keep it, and obviously keep Endgame. Have that be like the whole wrap up, series finale,
And
and
then
then
No
just
Way
give us
Home
the
can be
whole.
like an epilogue.
Yeah, and exactly. Give us No Way Home as an epilogue, and just call it a day until they are physically ready to go for another, years of more movies, instead of just throwing us Disney Plus movies
Well, they're
or
throwing
Disney
shit at
Plus.
the wall to see what sticks. That's all they're doing.
It
Yeah,
hurts. I
but
mean, I guess to add another one for you is, how about a TV series?
ooh, True Detective season 1.
Okay,
You ever seen True Detective?
I have not.
There are 3 seasons of it, and each season is a different story. Season 1 is arguably the greatest season of intense dark television, like real dark television. Season 2 is a misfire of epic proportions that could have been so good if they'd only changed up one or two things. Season 3 is good, but it focuses too much on one thing instead of letting the story unfold naturally. But like I said, even though those other 2 seasons aren't, like, season 2 is not good, season 3 is good, but not as good as season 1. Season 1, I would probably give 10 out of 10 across the board. Like, it's 8 episodes, and
Okay.
it's basically like an 8 hour long movie. It's got Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson. It is awesome. and I would definitely recommend you check that out. It is holy crap. It's arguably one of the best mysteries I've ever seen because there are so many layers to unfurl and unfold, and by the time you get to the end of it, you're just like that dude. The last 30 minutes of the final like episode,
Hmm.
you literally like cannot breathe because of like the tension that's built throughout all 8 episodes that leads to this. Holy shit. I'm
Okay.
still trying to get Nick to finish it with me because I remember we were watching it and we were, I think, 5 episodes in, and then his friend Andrew had to stop coming up because that's the thing. We were watching it with Andrew, and we were going to release that as a reaction series, but unfortunately, it didn't happen because of Andrew stopped coming up, and Nick didn't want to do it without Andrew, and I was just like, okay, I guess we'll wait for
Mm.
Andrew. 3 years later, we still haven't finished it, and it pisses me off because I'm just like, damn it! Right as like a lot of the shit was starting to line up, and he was starting to be like, oh my god, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, dead stop, no more, end of the line. Ugh. Eh, that would be in terms of TV series. That is my one. True Detective season one. Just blank it out of my memory and let me watch that again unimpeded. I would like, dude. That I give
Respectable.
it up for that. I give it
I'll,
up
I'll
for that. Bow.
I'll add it to my playlist 100%.
Please do, and tell me what you think if you ever watch it, dude.
Which one is it available on?
It originally aired on HBO, so
Okay, I have HBO Max.
yes, so you can watch it. So yeah, and remember, season one. You want it to be season one. You'll know it's got Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey in it.
Okay. So for me, let's see. So I agree with the movies ones, which is Marvel, and just
Mm-hmm.
have the epilogue be a Spider-Man until they could get their shit together. TV series, I'm stuck.
Hmm.
I'm stuck between Supernatural or
Ah.
Smallville. Smallville has been the only TV series that I've watched maybe I would say 8 times from season 1 to 10. I
Damn,
watched
bro.
it 8 times. I watched it
Damn.
as it was getting released, as in, like, on, CW11.
Yeah.
So it came out 2002, I think I was, like, 5 years old, and it ended in no, it started in 2003 and ended in 2012. So I was
Yeah, it was
about
10
7, 8
seasons.
years old. Yep. So I was 7, 8 years old, and I watched it all through, back to back. Every
Damn.
single Friday. No, it was every single it was every Thursdays at first, and then became every Fridays. And then the following a year and a half later, when season 3 no, no, when season 4 was being released for Smallville,
Mm-hmm.
that's when Supernatural came out. And then it was 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. was Smallville, and then 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. was
Supernatural.
Supernatural. And I was
Yeah.
watching them back to back, and then unfortunately, I strayed off a little bit from Supernatural, but became a little bit more religious on Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
That was my fixed crack every single week, and
So
then
so we could do, okay, just that time slot. You know, we could do that time slot as your TV series. Basically,
ooh,
8 p.m. to
true.
10 p.m. on
Right
those
before my
days. Yeah,
yeah.
wipe those time slots from your memory, and you can re-experience both of them again. Be like,
Okay,
what?
it was religion because nowadays when a Netflix series comes out, they give you the whole season.
Yeah, and which
If
and which and which that's why I
yeah,
respect some studios that do the weekly episodic releases because
exactly.
there's an anticipation to that, and I know that there are people out there who want to binge it. I know there are people out there who live for binging. My mom's one of them. My mom was upset at one show on Amazon that I recommended to her. She's like, "Where's the rest of them?" I'm just like, "Oh, it's weekly." Like, why are they doing weekly? I want to watch it all now. And I'm like, Mama, calm down. Like it's a weekly thing. I mean, it's like anticipation. And she's just like, Mom, you just don't understand, Nate. I just really like watching shows like that all the time. I'm like, that's just like for the new Last of Us series. me and we recommended it to mom, and mom, first question she asked me is like, "Is it all out? Is the whole thing out? Like, is that?" And it was just like, "Yes, mom, it's all out." And all of a sudden, I come back 3 days later. She's just like, "That was amazing. That was just so good." I'm just like, I know. It's what we told her. We told her. I knew she'd like it. I knew she'd like The Last of Us. Um, but yeah. What about
Yes.
games, dude? You never told me the games that you would erase from your
Video
memory.
game series, if I could erase to re-experience it,
Mm-hmm.
I would. I'm gonna go against my grain because you already know what my background of my favorite avatar is and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go against my grain and not be very generic and bland about it because obviously you could tell what my favorite type of character is and all that kind of shit.
No, no, I could never told. I could never tell.
But I will go for
Mm-hmm. He is getting up from his chair and he is coming back with
Kingdom Hearts.
ah.
I'll go for Kingdom Hearts.
You don't walk away. You don't hear me say, please, oh baby, don't go. Simple and clean is the way we are meant to be tonight. Oh God, dude.
I
I'm probably gonna
cried.
I'm gonna
Playing
get
3.
copyright struck for singing that. I know it because
Well,
they are
you
so anal about that song.
listen.
God.
You didn't see all the lyrics correctly, so I think they let you fly.
They don't care, man. They're gonna still get me for it. Watch me post this, and all of a sudden, your video has been blocked by Sony Music of Japan on the grounds of just oh my god! I know I didn't sing it right. I couldn't remember all the lyrics.
I know about Heart. I played and beat 1 and
uh,
2 about 25 times.
the first one I beat about 3 times. The second one I beat about 7 times. I couldn't help it. I had to get all of the stuff. And then I remember like the Sephiroth battle, getting the
Yep.
ultimate keyblade, getting all
Yep.
the little stuff that I missed. And then when Final Mix came out for both of them, I'm just like, I have to play these. I have to play them right now. And the Final Mix stuff added in, I was like, dude, this is even more. This is even better. And now that Kingdom Hearts 3 is out, took what 13 years for them to finally release that, and then now they've announced Kingdom Hearts 4 so quickly after Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, because how long did it take them to announce Kingdom Hearts 3? Took them what, 8 years?
Yeah, I mean they first declared it as like Keyblade Wars.
Yeah.
Then they went. I guess they scrapped the idea, and they now have the one we have today. So it
Yes.
was gonna be a whole different. Yeah, it was gonna be a whole different game. But then
Well,
yeah, they announced that I think like 7 years after 2.
yeah, and I remember, the whole hidden trailer at the end of Kingdom Hearts 2. That was the lead into Birth by Sleep. Because you had Terra, Ven, and Aqua, and then of course you saw all of the Keyblades. You saw the version of Xehanort, like the old
Mhm.
version of Xehanort, that was originally voiced by Leonard Nimoy, and I'm sad that he wasn't able to come back and voice him in Kingdom Hearts 3, because he passed away. But still, that build that we got in that hidden trailer at the end, I was like, holy crap, what is this? And then that was the announcement for Birth by Sleep. And then I remember they did Dream Drop Distance,
Yep.
where you got the Mark of Mastery, and you could, and it was it would gosh, then of course 30, it was like 358 by 2 days. That was
358 by 7 days.
358 by 7. Okay, 358 by 7. Couldn't remember.
With
Uh,
Shion, and then you had
mm-hmm.
Recoded.
Recoded was another one, yeah. And there's a lot of there was a lot of different games in that interim between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3. A lot of
Chain of Memory.
re-releases. Yeah, yeah, Chain of Memory. There were a lot of them that just got like recycled, re-released and all that as well. The HD remakes of Kingdom Hearts 1 and the full release of Kingdom Hearts 2 final mix here in the States finally. And then, of course, the leading all the way up to the release of Kingdom Hearts 3, which is the end of one story, but is the beginning of another. And
Yep.
it's like, damn, I thought we were done. Turns
Yeah.
out, nah. Actually, I was going to quote Dave Chappelle there, but then I remember what he said at the end. I was like, oh yeah, I can't say that. I'd play the clip. Actually, I'll play it right now in post production. Nate, I know you're going to be editing this probably later tonight, so play it right now. So my reaction being like, "Oh, I thought we were over," and the game series was like, "Okay, there we go." So yeah, so Dave Chappelle said it, not me.
I mean, I will relive. I will definitely relive Kingdom Hearts because I remember having Chain of Memory on Game Boy
Ah,
before they put
yes.
on the whole Read Chain of Memory on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, me playing Chain of Memory in church because I was a kid. I didn't want to pay attention. So,
Oh,
and I was a
is that
very
right?
hyper child. So to shut me up in church, my mom gave me my Game Boy, and I would play Chain of Memory at church.
Well,
So
hopefully with the volume off, because I think it'd be kind of awkward. You back there playing it, and just like all of a sudden, like ha ha ha.
yeah, there's times where it would be quiet. I heard fire, fire, blizzard, blizzard,
No,
heal,
no.
heal. My mom she tasked me. She's like turn that shit down, turn that shit down.
Headphones, bro. Like get the little earbud in there, like.
Did Game Boy have earbuds?
I know that yeah, there was a output on the bottom. Was it the advance or the color?
I had the Advance.
Okay, so the Advance did have a headphone jack, I believe. That was actually one of the big complaints about the SP, the Game Boy Advance SP, the clamshell one.
Yeah,
Which,
that's the one I was playing.
oh, okay, that one did not have a native adapter, or it did not have a native headphone jack, but you could use it in the power adapter. You could get one that could go in the power adapter.
I didn't. I was poor, so I don't know. Okay.
Well, it was only. I think it was only like $8. You could buy it at a buy it yeah, as an accessory. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I was
anyway,
poverty.
fair. Same, dude. Same.
Uh,
I mean, everyone at school had the Game Boy Color, and then like 3 years later, I was finally able to get a Game Boy Color after saving up all my money, and then they'd all moved on to Game Boy Advances. I'm just like,
I was gonna say a fucked up joke. Listen, I'm poor. I grew up with colors.
okay, moving on. Oh God. So okay. Jesus Christ, Rick. Okay. Beardy Boys, as of episode 8, has been canceled due to mild racism.
uh,
Oh God. So let's see here. What else? Let's see. What was my other subject? Damn it. You distracted me with colors. I hate you. Let's see. Uh, I'm not
yeah,
gonna live that down now.
yeah. That's what people in the South say.
Oh, oh God. Really? Uh, okay.
Uh,
So my other one that I have here is my other subject is the Dwayne Rock Johnson
mhm.
is being sued for $3 billion. Yeah, let me look at the full spreadsheet of the lawsuit. Uh, Dwayne Johnson, $3 billion lawsuit. There we are.
Oh, wasn't it for the WWE situation?
Yes, $3 billion lawsuit filed against him by by a former pro wrestler and WWE star. Let's see here. Former WWE champion. Well, yeah, blowing up a puff piece about the Mr. the Dwayne Rock Johnson. Yeah. Wait, are you serious? This bitch. Okay. Trinisha Biggers, aka Raka Khan, who has made an enemy of everybody in the. I did not know it was her. That is wow, wow. That is okay. This changes shit up a little bit because I originally didn't know like 100% who was the cult, like who was holding him responsible, but instead, okay, allow me to elaborate on who Raka Khan is. Raka Khan is a former pro wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
She was a former she was in some organizations like TNA and I forget which other ones, but she basically is a crack hoe in and this is like everyone in the wrestling industry talks about that. Like Kurt Angle, hell, even like stalwarts who don't talk shit about almost anybody talk shit about Raka Khan because of just how shitty of a person she is. I mean, hell, uh, Awesome Kong, who is one of my favorite female pro wrestlers ever, and also one of the baddest bitches. Like, she'll say this about herself: she's like the baddest bitch in like ever to enter a ring. Because imagine, if you will, like a giant 6'3", like just 280-pound woman who can move like a freight train coming at you. It's just like, I ain't fucking with that.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't fucking with that. And
Mm-hmm.
and I love her to death. I love Awesome Kong. And anyway, she had nothing but good things to say about almost all of the the women that she's wrestled with. She was just like, oh yeah, she's cool. Oh, Becky Bales, she's a hoe, but she's cool. She's cool. Yeah, just and she's like, Becky would call herself a hoe and all that, but then pulls up Raka Khan's name. All of a sudden, the look on her face, she's like bitch, funky ass bitch, funky bitch. It's like, pay my grandma her money. My grandma watched your kids. Now pay her money. It's like, and it's just like, and like, damn, shit goes deep, man. And now Tranisha Biggers, aka Raka Khan, opened up a lawsuit in April 2023 uh, to sue the Dwayne Rock Johnson for $3 billion. Who the hell
For
approved
what?
this lawsuit?
For
Saying that,
what though?
accusing him of being part of an elaborate plot to kidnap her children. Why the hell would Dwayne Johnson want to kidnap her kids? Why? Who approved this lawsuit? What judge looked at this lawsuit and was just like, seems fair? Yeah, like, who allowed this to go to any proceedings beyond like just accusations? I don't get this shit, man. Is she just hoping for like a settlement? Like The Rock's gonna see this and just be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to settle right now. Here's a couple $1,000,000 just for you to go away." That's usually what these result in. These lawsuits like this, especially from desperate hoes like Raka Khan, is basically she's gonna be like, this and that happened and such, and she's gonna do interviews, give a statement of like how Dwayne threatened to kidnap her kids, and then all of a sudden Dwayne's just gonna be like Tranisha, here's $2 million for you to shut the fuck up, drop the lawsuit. And it's like, but I guarantee you that's what she's wanting. I hope he
Yeah.
fights this. I hope it goes to court. I hope the judge sees how ridiculous this is, and the lawyer that brought this lawsuit forward gets disbarred, from ever practicing law again. Because that's the other thing too, is just like the whole deal with it's the whole Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing. It's like, dude, like, why is this a thing? Why are you are you serious right now? Like, all this bullshit that you're dredging up that has nothing to do with the court case. Even the judge was just like, it's just like, you have no evidence, so we're moving on. It's like, but Your Honor, we need to point out how much of a piece of shit Johnny Depp is, because he passed out with a milkshake in his lap in his trailer one time and got the milkshake all over him. And it's like, that doesn't matter. We are not here to discuss whether or not Johnny Depp fell asleep with a milkshake in his lap. We're here to discuss if Amber Heard is a abusive piece of shit. And guess what? She
It
was.
was.
Still is.
Yep.
And to the point, like, she got fleeced for so much money now. She's left the United States and is basically like not going to pay any money. That's how bad it is for her. When you got to leave the country in order to not pay the fines that you owe, that's some bullshit right there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless it's like full on tax evasion. Like if you move to Singapore and you're evading bullshit taxes, then I approve. But other than that, yeah, pay your taxes, kids. You don't want the government like knocking down your door.
Yep. Last thing I
Especially,
want.
go ahead.
The last thing I want is that.
Yeah. Well, and trust me, as an independent contractor for YouTube who has to do his own taxes, trust me, do your own taxes. You do not want to wind up, getting shafted by Bubba because all of a sudden, you're serving 3 to 5 years for felony tax evasion, and that can happen if you don't pay your taxes. Just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah.
Super Saiyan.
Oh yeah. So that was my second one. The Dwayne the Rock Johnson $3 billion lawsuit. And if you want to, what was your second one there, bro?
So this could be kind of a controversial thing to talk about, or just your little idea on it. So not to get super in depth about it, but there's been a lot of things that's been happening to different countries, and even sports within our own land of America, where things like combat sports, people are trying to advocate for gender neutral combat sports.
Oh
So,
boy.
in other words, man versus females, trans woman and cis woman. You have stuff like that. You have trans man and cis man, or you even have, like I said before, a man versus a woman. They've been trying to advocate for more, gender neutral sports divisions, but with combat related stuff.
So
And it kind of resulted one of the most recent ones. No, it was not really more recent. One of the cases was a trans woman versus a cis woman, and the trans woman, I think, cracked the cis woman's skull and won the match within like 32 seconds.
Yeah. There we are. So there's been several of these fights throughout history. There was one that happened a long time ago. It was I think it was around 2000. It was like 2002, 2003. There was a challenge that was issued by this female kickboxer. She was like one of the best kickboxers in the world, like 4-time world champion, and she issued a challenge to anyone who wanted to come in and fight her, man or woman. And after like 3 or 4 women in a row, after this open challenge over the span of like 6 or 8 months, she was just like, you know what? No more women. I want to fight a man. I want to show everyone that I can beat a man's ass. And they couldn't get an opponent because no man wanted to fight her, because it's just like no, I don't want to make this into a freak show. But then her management went out and found an older boxer. This woman was like 24, 25, physical peak. She was at her physical peak. And they go out and they find a man who is in his mid to late 40s, former boxer and all that. And they get him in the ring, and they're acting like this is like, oh, battle of the sexes. This is the true battle of the sexes and all that. And then all of a sudden, they go in there, and she like corners him. She like starts teeing off on him, just like using her speed to her advantage and everything. She's like teeing off. He's covering up. He's like taking the punches, and then all of a sudden she rears back and leaves herself wide open, and him just a short little boom check hook right across her jaw, down and out. One punch. And
Thomas style.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I hate to say it, but there are biological differences between men and women. This is a natural thing of it's a rule of nature. I hate to say rules of nature. Yeah, I know the whole meme, but the biological differences between men and women have been documented for ever since we discovered a difference between men and women. It's been documented over and over and over again. And I hate to say it, but male bone structure, male muscle mass, the amount of mass that the male frame is capable of carrying, it's insane.
Mhm.
And the fact that the fact and I've seen as well, they're like in athletics, they taught the battle of the sexes, like Billie Jean King versus Bobby Riggs back in the 70s. Um, Bobby Riggs took a dive because earlier that year he beat Margaret Court, who was a much better tennis player than Billie Jean King. Like he beat her like in straight sets, like 6-0, 6-2. Like that's like just dominated. And then he goes up against Billie Jean King, and then all of a sudden, Bobby's just like, oh, he can't hit the ball as far or as hard as he used to, or he's letting go of these lob shots that easily he could easily get. And then you come to find out, oh yeah, Bobby Riggs bet against himself to get himself out of a gambling debt. Uh oh, it's Chad. Yeah, he's calling.
All right.
Hold on, let's see what he wants. But back on the subject we were talking about, let's see where we were talking about male versus female athletes and all that. So we'll just so in terms of I actually found it. Lucia Riker at the time was the number one female kickboxer in the world, and she went up against this dude, and he basically just one shotted her. And the whole deal with the differences between men and women. It's not just in terms of combat sports, but it's also in basic athletics because we talked about Bobby Riggs and Billie Jean King. I don't want to regale the whole thing, but Bobby Riggs took a dive to get himself out of gambling debt. Not to cheapen the whole thing with Billie Jean King, but I mean, there's all the evidence in the world that pointed to him doing that. And then not only that, but every other time that they've tried to do a like men versus women in terms of their sports, men have dominated every time because and here's the other thing too is it's like let's have the best female tennis player in the world go up against a 50-plus-year-old former male pro. It's like, okay, how's about instead let's do Serena Williams versus Novak Djokovic or Rafael Nadal, one of like the top dudes in the world. Instead of, it'd be Serena Williams versus John McEnroe or Bjorn Borg or, an older pro. It's like instead of, stacking the deck, let's be real. Let's be real and let's find out.
Yeah.
And every
I
time
mean,
they've
even Serena Williams herself said, like, yeah, she's the best, female tennis player in the world, quote unquote, and she was very humble about it. But she even said, like, even if you put me in the guys who are in the bottom 500 of tennis that are males, they would dominate me.
yes. Yeah,
And
and she's probably the greatest female tennis player of all time. I would see her, Martina, Chris Evert, and Steffi Graf are really the only ones I can think of that are on that level. But yeah, like you were saying,
it's to me, it just feels like I can understand certain sports that may have a little bit more like neutrality into it, like maybe like chess or things in the nature of like things that not really deals with combat or even sometimes agility.
well, I'd
I
say
think of
athletics, you like gymnastics, probably.
gymnastic, figure skating,
Yes.
figure eight stuff, things in the
Auto
nature of
racing.
that. Yeah, yeah, 100%. I can see like even like NASCAR or even it's like those are things that I could definitely see that it could be neutral.
Yes.
Things that deals with a skill that deals with not with the physical body, but more either mental skill or machinery skill. That
Yes.
I could get behind. But once it gets into the whole body performance, it's unfair.
Yes.
And obviously, I'm not trying to attack any type of community or group of people or any individuals. But for the cases that you've seen with when it comes to people who have transitioned into the sex that they believe they are, they will enter the sports of which they're technically legally to be a part of because they did the whole transition period and all that kind of sorts, and then the whole the reaffirming therapies and surgeries. They've done the whole entire part of it, and they will then join the sports they're supposed to be a part of, and they would dominate. And
Yes.
even yes, you may have gone through the whole process and surgeries, but it's still kind of an unfair advantage.
Yes. It is.
And
And
I mean, it all depends on when the transitions has started. If it
yes.
was something that's like very early in life, and in life, then I can understand, and that's a little bit more debatable. But
Yeah,
when
but where you've
if
developed
somebody
more time
like
as a
Mike
man.
Tyson, yeah, if a person like Mike Tyson, like right now, just decides to transition, like for example, like Bruce,
Bruce
when
Jenner
Bruce Jenner
became
now is
Caitlyn.
became Caitlyn, she already had the many decades of going through life with testosterone and the whole process of it. Her
Yes.
transitioning is not as effective as she would have done it when she was like maybe like 8, 10 years old.
Yes.
So yes, she's older now, but if she starts to do like a marathon, type of thing and do like a women like women track, it would kind of be still unfair in a sense.
Yeah.
But it might be even playing field, but it's the fact that obviously she's older, but it's still she has the advantage of having those many decades of having the muscle mass, the bone density, and all the kind of sorts to her advantage.
Yes. And I'd say it's a very slippery slope, and it's a topic that you know requires minds that it requires a mind that I would need to dedicate a lot of research to in order to come up with a finite 100%. And even if you do all the research and everything like that, there is no guarantee that you're going to come to an agreement or you're going to reach something that everyone's going to be happy with, because hate to say it, but sometimes there is no right answer.
That is correct.
Sometimes you're just going to come up with an answer that makes the most sense, and there's just going to be people out there who are going to hate it forever. They're going to hate you forever. And that's why, again, I've stated, never try to please everybody, try to do what is right. And honestly, to determine what is right would take a lot of research, a lot of time, and I wouldn't mind doing that eventually, but it's taxing, dude. It's taxing trying to do everything that we do and then just be like have these philosophical arguments and everything. It's just like it's like if we don't want to sound like idiots, it's like
Exactly. You don't want to start talking about a topic and you have nothing like no information or no knowledge on, because it's something that is becoming way more prominent now ever since the whole pandemic days, and for us to completely understand it and to accept it, it's a slow process.
yeah.
And look, I guess one example I could basically talk about is the civil rights. It happened in the '60s, but to this day, we're still experiencing people who are not fully accepting that the whole civil rights it's now neutral, that everybody's equal. There's unfortunate people out there in the world that still believe people who are minorities are definitely inferior
Well, yeah,
and
and
that they're superior. So this is something that's been happening for decades.
yeah,
And now
and
that the whole LGBT is coming into the play, it's gonna take time. And I understand people are frustrated that they want to be accepted and they want to be known and all this kind of sorts,
it
but
takes time.
it takes time. And I
And
want to take the time to
yeah,
understand it.
I do too. And I don't want to prejudge, and I don't want to make people feel like, I don't think that they're inferior or anything like that, but at the same time, I don't want people to label me as something that I'm not. I mean, I've worked very hard to get where I'm at in life, and if someone wants to label me as something that's going to derail all my momentum and everything like that, that I don't think that that's really fair considering where we are in terms of our society, in terms of accepting this, this new cultural shift. That it's just like, dude, people can change. I mean, one of the biggest examples that I can think of. Have you ever heard of the name C.P. Ellis?
Mm.
You mentioned the civil rights earlier. So back in the late '60s, early '70s, in Durham, North Carolina, there was a movement to combine the schools. Desegregate.
Okay,
Um,
now I know who you're talking about. Yeah, it's
yeah.
been a minute.
So Ann Atwater was one of the biggest advocates for combining the schools, ending segregation, and her biggest opponent was a man named C.P. Ellis, Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. Grand Wizard, like one of the upper echelons, like one of the upper managements. This dude, after working with Ann Atwater and realizing the benefit of everyone working together instead of against each other, realized that it's all like what he was doing was all a grift. There was nothing to it. And he realized that and he said, well, I'll be damned. Like this is like if I don't believe in this, why am I still supporting this? And in front of like the balls on this man, in front of the whole like clan of the area. I'm talking like everyone, other grand wizards, imperial dragons, and all that, and all of the other ones out there. Everyone, like all the other regular members, pulls out his card and burns it in front of all of them, and walks out.
Wow.
Told them I can no longer support this. Burned it, walked out, and he got harassed for a bit, but eventually everyone moved on, and the right side prevailed. And CP Ellis for the rest of his life dedicated himself to being a civil rights worker and helping people. And
Wow.
and Ann Atwater was there with him the whole time, side by side, arm in arm, just like making sure the rights were protected and everything like that. And you got to think about that. The most ardent, hardline people can sometimes have the biggest changes of heart. You just have to give them a chance. You just have to,
Hmm.
and that's why I love people like Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis goes around and literally has made like lifelong clan members, Grand Wizards, Imperial Dragons, quit. He has made them quit because he's made them realize that they're supporting something that does not benefit them or benefit their family or anything like that. They're supporting something that seeks to divide and separate everybody instead of bring everybody together as it should be. And you see it, and people have called Daryl Davis a white supremacist. Like, dude literally makes Klan members quit. That shows ignorance right there. That's another
Hmm.
level of ignorance. People who don't read between the lines and don't understand context and just want to just throw labels on everything. It's just like, oh, you support that, labeled. I it's like that's all they want to do. They just want the quickest and easiest answer, the quickest and easiest solution. They don't actually want to work for it. They don't want to work to get through this shit and discern and see what the truth is. No, fuck the truth. I want the easiest answer that's just going to make me happy with myself.
Yeah.
That's narcissism. And anyone who
Yeah.
does that is an idiot.
And that's the part that really like bothers my soul. It's because I have a whole bunch of friends that are trans, gay, lesbian, the whole nine
Yeah.
yards.
Yeah,
I
same.
have people who are all the categories with the community. I have friends within each branch, and it's the minority of that community that has the loudest voice, and that's what's bringing it down. And this whole
Yeah.
entire movement with trying to have neutral sports is insane because, like you state, which is just truth about just all of species on this planet, there are significant differences between the female and male counterparts of every species.
Yes.
And humans are one of those species that has huge differences.
Yeah.
Obviously, the water density in our own bodies as well. Women are, I think, 72%, while men are, no, I think women are 70, while men are 67.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, our muscle mass, our bone density. There's a lot of big difference. Obviously, you have the pelvic issues. Obviously, women pelvics are, the pelvic up bones of the women are more spaced out because obviously, for bearing children. There's so
Yes.
many different, there's so many different aspects to us humans that's different than our opposite sexes.
Yes, and
And it's just the community that is the minority that are very outspoken on demanding the whole neutrality of sports is essentially going to be erasing women's history. Because if
yeah.
basketball is going to be neutral, if football is going to be neutral, is even things from like rugby to soccer to UFC to boxing to all these other sports that either combat or with agility or even with just agility
Well,
and combat sports. It's going to be unfair advantage for people who are who are born a cis woman.
yeah,
Because
and
why would a cis woman whose average height is going to be 5'5", 5'6", if they're going to be into sports or basketballs, you might get a few 5'9", 5'8" girls trying to go against men who are like 6'8", 6'9".
and there's some women out there who are like 6'4", 6'5". I've seen. I saw them play at. I forget her name. She played at UT, and she was able to dunk a basketball and all that. But even then, that's one out of like tens of thousands that I've seen play, and the whole deal is like there's nothing wrong with addressing biological differences. It's something that you have to do. You have to address like the obvious thing in the room. But that doesn't mean like for for all the people out there who want the neutrality in sports and everything, it's narcissistic for you to believe that what you want is the right thing and that everyone else should want that too. That is pure narcissism. Instead, what you need to do is develop an argument to support your side of it and say, this is why I think it should be this way, instead of it needs to be this way. Because there's nothing out there that truly needs to be anyway. There's just discussions that need to be had that is going to result in more common ground between the sides that disagree with each other. That's what's needed. But instead, where you have everybody like the extremes just yelling at each other and just like just making everyone else hate each other, it just doesn't benefit anybody. And I think that's one thing that we as a society need to learn to do. We need to learn to listen to like the logical minded people who wish for change for the better, while and just try and look at things from just the more logical perspective instead of just depending on our emotions all the time. Because
Mhm.
emotions, like, while I'm all for you emotionally feeling however you want, your emotions do not give you carte blanche over my like how I feel and everything like that. It's like I've always said this. It's just like I look at trans rights a lot like a religion. For instance, here's what I've said in the past, and I've this is my argument that I've used. It's like I respect a person's right to believe that they are trans, to believe that they are a woman or are a man, whichever they wish to identify as. I have no problem with that. However, to expect others to play to do the thing that you do, to say the words that you do, expect them to do that, it's a lot like, and that's the other thing too. In some countries like Canada, if you don't, you go to jail. So I would like to raise the question to y'all out there. If I were to all of a sudden go down to the courthouse out here and I were to get 300,000 Christians at my back, and we basically forced the government, the local government, to make it to where if you took the Lord's name in vain, that was 3 to 5 years in jail. If you took the Lord's name in vain, that's 3 to 5 years in jail. Now, here's the difference. Now, here's the thing. It's a philosophical thing. Like, there's people out there who are Christians, and they have their beliefs and everything. And don't you think that you're making them uncomfortable by doing what you do and acting the way you do? Of course you are, because not everyone's the same. Everyone's going to believe and think different things, and you can't expect everyone to just like give into your beliefs because you feel like they should and you feel like you're on the right side of history. Again, that points back to narcissism. That's pure narcissism. And
I mean, I agree.
I feel that people nowadays, it gets to the point where it's not the fact that everyone thinks that they're right, it's that everyone knows that they're right.
Entitlement.
Everyone, yeah, it is. It's a sense of entitlement. And instead of you looking at things from a logical perspective and looking at things from like through the scope of, it's like, oh, I am one person and there are literally almost 8 billion other individuals on this planet, all with varying different thoughts, beliefs, likes, dislikes, religions. Hell, there's even people who are irreligious, atheists, agnostics, and even they all believe different stuff. And you can't get them to agree on anything. I mean, you look at people and say, oh, this group over here, like these are all Protestants, and all the Protestants think exactly the same. No, the fuck they don't. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot tell you how many different types of Protestants I've ran into that it's just like, oh, this sect over here, I don't like what they believe, or oh, this group over here, they drink actual wine at their communion instead of using grape juice. It's like, oh, their Eucharist wafers are just Ritz crackers instead of getting actual Eucharist wafers. It's like it's insanity. It's literal insanity. You're expecting things to change, but yet they won't. You trying to discern and decipher billions and billions of people out there. Trust me, I have been through the mental loop of trying to figure out how I can relate to the most people, bring in the most people and, embrace the most people as humanly possible with my thought process. And it drove me crazy. It literally drove me to the point of where I was just like, I don't want to talk to anybody. Everybody's crazy. Everybody's nuts. I can't agree with anybody on anything anymore. And it's because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize I'm not myself. And by not me being myself and not me having my own like ideals and everything like that, I was never going to be friends with anybody. I was never going to be true friends with anybody because I didn't even know myself. And that's what I think everyone's going through out there. They're trying to figure out who they are, and that takes time. I wasn't. It was like 20. I was 24 when I finally figured out who the fuck I am in life, and I'm still trying to figure parts of myself out. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
34. It's been 10 years since I was confident enough in myself to actually go forward in my life and do what I want to in my life. And my life has gotten better. There's parts of it that I'm still upset about, but I really think that I'm a better person now than I was 10 years ago. Much better person. And I think that's come from me just accepting the fact that I'm not going to be friends with everybody. There's going to be people out there who hate me for no other reason than the fact that I exist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay because I don't have to be friends with them. And you're not going to be friends with everybody. You shouldn't
Yep.
expect everyone to accept what you believe because there are people out there who are never going to accept, trans inclusivity and everything. And while those people do exist, you need to really embrace the people who are all for trans inclusivity, and you need to hold them close. And you need to hold them close, embrace them, and understand. And even if they don't agree with you 100%, you still you can still disagree on certain things and still be friends and still agree on stuff. I mean, that's life.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's all I hear is just preach, 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 preach. I
Oh,
mean, it's
I'm not
it's
here to
it's it's
preach.
it's just true
I
though.
was like,
But
yes, Lord, I want you to fill up this plate here with all your money. Give me all your money. I want to buy the Houston Rockets, Lord.
yeah. But like it's just going back to the topic I was just saying before about the whole civil rights, and it's like it's been over 60 years and we still haven't found 100% common ground with everybody, and it's been
Huh.
60 years. So it's
Yeah.
like you
God.
can't expect and you can't be entitled to think that because you feel one way that the whole world has to shift on your feeling.
Yes.
And if it hasn't been done for the minorities in this country for over 60 years, it's not going to shift in 2 days because you're you.
Because you made a tweet about it or you made a TikTok that set the world on fire. No, no.
So that's my only point, and I'm for obviously gender neutral to certain sports that deals with nothing with combat or agility stuff. I'm
Mm-hmm.
fine with it if you want to make it into one place and all that kind of stuff. I'm fine with that. The
Yeah.
things that deals with combat that there is obvious big difference biology wise, and same thing for other sports like football, soccer, or football to the Europeans and other people who are normal in the world. Because apparently America is
Yeah.
not normal.
There's football and then there's gridiron football.
Yeah, exactly. You have American football and football.
Yes.
You have tennis. You have all these other sports that are more physical, track and baseball, basketball,
Yeah.
those stuff that has to be separate 1,010%. That's something that can't even be discussed on being in a neutral environment. It's going to be unfair for cis women because even if you are trans, and even if you're a trans man, which you have the biology of unfortunately as a cis woman, and that's your main route, even though now you are a trans man, you trying to go into a sport with cis men, that trans man is going to have a big disadvantage.
Yes.
So it's right now it's more of an upper hand advantage for a trans woman compared to trans man. So that's why I'm saying that it should be more the ones that deals with no physicalities, keep that separate how it is now, and the ones that has no physicalities, keep it neutral or
Yeah.
convert it into neutral
I
down the
think
line.
there should be if an organization out there wants to try it, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you want to have like your own branch, like obviously you have sports, you have women's sports, and if you want to try it out, just maybe add another branch. Because now we're having more people who's part of the community of the LGBT have their own branch.
Yeah.
Experiment with that for a little while to see how
Yeah.
that works. See if they like it. If not, then they'll go back to the drawing board. Try to find more common ground to see if maybe requirements have to be certain different. Maybe this, maybe that. So try to be neutral with the women and the men who are cis. Try to find common ground. If having your own your own trans team, like a fully trans team or a trans sport, you have men's sport, female sport, and transport. Try to see if that works. If that doesn't work, then try to see, hey, listen, we have these athletes that were going through conversions and transitions in their very youthful years. So they didn't go through the whole puberty process. They didn't go through they had puberty blockers and everything. So these individuals uh, don't show much with obviously medical record wise. They don't have the whole bone density or that kind of stuff that's prominent because they stopped it before they went through the whole process. Give them a try. Let's in and see how that works. This is something that's going to take decades for it to even become a thing. So
Yeah.
just experiment and try to work with the other people, not force yourself on those people.
I agree.
Work with them, do experiments, do things. No, don't have no actual recorded games. Have test matches
Yes.
and see how the results are. And if it seems as unfair, do another test match and
Yeah.
try to see if there's any more handicaps you may get the other person. That I think that would be the best way to go about it, so it could be fair for everybody, and people don't have to feel forced that their quote unquote safe places are being taken away from them.
Yeah. Uh, well, yeah, we've had a good long discussion here. We went
Yep.
hour and a
On that
half on.
note,
Yeah, on that note.
happy Cinco de Mayo, guys.
Oh yeah, Cinco de Mayo, Drinko de Mayo. So enjoy, and
Woo.
well, I think that is going to do it for this one, everyone. This episode of La Beardy Boys, Los Beardy Boys. What would be the Spanish translation for that? Hold on. Uh, let's see.
No, I know beard is what beard is.
Los chicas barbudos.
Hola, chicos, barbudos. Yeah.
Los chicos barbudos. Yes. So, for Cinco de Mayo, this is Los Chicos Barbudos, and we hope that you all had a wonderful day. And until next time, I'm Nate.
Soy Ricky.
And we'll see you in the next one, everyone. Peace.
Peace out.